Yeah, if Robin's not on in the next minute or two, I'm going to get started without her. Hopefully she can eventually get in.
Yeah, hope so. We hear him, Corey.
Hey, Susan.
Hi.
Good seeing you.
Yep. Good to see you too.
Thanks.
Omar, if you want to get started.
I'm going to let everybody get in first. It's still letting people in, so let's see if Robin comes in too. As soon as everyone's come in that's been waiting, then I'll go ahead and get started.
Okay, I'm here just in case. Sorry for the delay.
Oh,
We are there? Okay, I don't see
okay.
it.
She's Samsung today.
Oh,
Hey,
okay,
Robin.
right.
Robin?
Hello, hello.
Hey, Robin.
Okay, there's still one person connecting. As soon as everyone's connected, we'll get started.
Mark, if you want to proceed as normal, that's fine. There's enough people. I probably should just stay on.
Okay, sorry, everybody, it's just a little bit late. We've had a couple connection problems. I show it's 7:08, and I'm going to call the board meeting to order. I know that all of the board members are on, so all board members are in attendance and accounted for. Before we do anything else, I'd like to make a move that we approve the agenda. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Corey?
Aye.
In favor?
Okay. All right, everyone's in favor?
Yes.
All right. And I make a move that we approve the previous minutes. Does anybody have any concerns? Anyone make a second to that?
Second.
Okay. So, Carissa, are you good with that?
Approved.
Okay, okay, thanks. Robin? Got it?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so before we get into the agenda in the order in which it was put on here, Jamie is not feeling the best, and we told her we'd go first with her report, with the office manager's report, so that she can bug out, and then we'll go back and catch up with the rest of the agenda as listed.
Remember the younger guy? He used to.
So, Robin,
JB.
Jamie, yes,
Jamie.
too many names here. Jamie, if you would like to, you can go ahead and go through your report.
All righty. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to start off with Shauna's report. She had no liens processed in the month of July. Currently, we have 13 liens outstanding with a total balance of $14,474.85 that we're still trying to collect on. She processed 26 property sales, 15 title requests, 231 phone calls, 9 shut-off notices, 1 shut-off issued, 36 friendly reminders, 880 payments were processed, 66 walk-ins, and miscellaneous website edits. As far as our training for Cassell, when we went to Utah, all expenses for the week were about $1,400. We came home with several assignments that we need to complete before we go on our live training, which will be over the week of August 15th through the 18th. Barb Ross will be manning the front desk and phones because we'll be busy on the computers. We also have online training that we have to complete for Invoice Cloud. Invoice Cloud is the program that we'll be using to process online payments. And that won't be implemented until August 23rd. I had to purchase an upgrade for our meter reading software. The initial cost is going to be about $1,750 with an annual fee of $1,300. This program should be rolling and ready to go before our next billing cycle, hopefully. Unfortunately, we had a lot of issues with our previous payroll company, so I've also contracted with Cassell to process our payroll for the next 6 months, starting this pay period. We will also be sending flyers out with details regarding the options that Cassell or Invoice Cloud will be offering as far as online payments. Probably in the next week or so, we'll get those sent out. And then I've attached a copy of our new bills so that you guys could see those. They turned out really nice. After having to work with 3 different vendors, it's been kind of a nightmare with paper shortage and all kinds of crazy stuff going on, but we finally got the bills. They actually arrived today. And as far as everybody I know was concerned and would like to have email and text message alerts, and I wanted to let y'all know that we will be able to do that once we get Cassell and Invoice Cloud up and working. But the system's only as good as the information that's in it. So if you want alerts, please update your information with our office, and you can do that by emailing either myself or Shauna at billing at FLMD.com. I also attached our statistics for activity on our website. I had been working with our web designer, Terry McLean, to get set up so that I can monitor that monthly, and I will make sure and share that information on a monthly basis. And I would also like to thank our residents for alerting us of certain situations within the district that need attention. I really appreciate y'all calling in and letting us know what's going on, and your patience for us in the office while we're going through this transition of the new utility billing system. It's really been a lot of work, and yeah, that's all I have to say.
Okay, I saw Shauna on earlier. Did Shauna have anything to add? I'm not sure if she's still on.
She's on. She's muted.
Okay. Okay, did anybody else have any questions for Jamie before we bid her farewell?
Hope you feel better.
Thanks, Jamie.
Awesome,
better, Jamie.
thank you.
Feel better.
You're back to
Thanks,
you.
Jamie.
Thank you.
Okay, so budget committee, do we have anything to report at this point?
Yeah, we've met several times with Corey Bruce, Jamie, and I. Our concern is that the high inflation rate has caused heavy increases in our supplies and utility bills. We may need to raise rates a second time before the end of the year to stay in balance with our budget. Once Consell is fully operational, we can run reports quickly to assess the expenses and income situation in the coming months.
Okay. So have we started working on next year's budget yet?
Yes.
Weekly, we've met weekly, and that, yes, it's ongoing.
And one of the things that came out of it too is we need to actually look at raising the rates for the road, not just water and sewer, but increasing the road fees.
Our
Okay,
expenses at 6 months.
so do we have any kind of a feel right now for what the impact might be? Or are we waiting until Cassell's up so we can get a more detailed report?
No, we're okay with the reports we have. The problem is the inflation rate and how it's affecting our goop, our gasoline, anything oil-based. Besides, I mean, even something like Jamie had said, paper shortages, you know, so the guys could run reports and things like that, something very simply.
Okay, so when do we think we'll have an idea what is going to be necessary?
We're meeting next week. Bruce has been very good about updating. See, what we're doing is at the 6 month mark, what was our expenses compared to income coming in? And roads are killing us. The expenses, Bruce can tell you more specifically, how gasoline, oil, and anything related to that has affected our expenses with the same income coming in as we had budgeted a year ago.
Okay, so when I was glancing briefly at the numbers a little while ago, it looks like we're definitely falling behind. Is that a true statement?
Probably by 50%, and it's a big number.
Okay,
Mark, I'm not sure what you're saying falling behind. What specifically were you referring to?
when I look at income versus expenses, it looks like the expenses are quite a bit higher. And it
No.
looks like much of the, we got most of our taxes and stuff in. So it
Well-
does not look like we're keeping up. Am I reading that correctly?
Well, if you read this paper here that has the graph on it,
Yeah,
you look at the revenue side, we're at 67% and our expenditures are 65%. So we're 2% up in the general fund. In water fund, it's 51 revenue, 46 water, and in sewer is 56 revenue and 45 sewer. So we're still ahead.
okay, our head is
A little
above
bit.
water, but not by much then.
Correct. Yeah. No, we're not killing it by any stretch of the imagination. We're holding our own. I think what Carissa was speaking of, and Corey too, about the road thing. If you look at our budget, we break out roads in expenditures, and it's about $225,000 more than we take in on road fees. So there's a structural deficit built right into the budget. It's sitting right there in front of you. So that's kind of what they're talking about. And that's kind of it's a big number.
And another thing that we were talking about too is charging unit 3 the road fee as well.
Oh,
That would
hell
help.
no.
Okay, well, so at this point though, you don't have any firm recommendations. Is that correct?
Charge you 3 to road fees.
But
We
we're
feel more
still,
comfortable after next, I'm sorry, Bruce. We
Okay,
feel more comfortable after next week's meeting Bruce is going to get answers on questions we had on what the expenses actually were. It's between figuring out how our expenses right now compared to what is it going to be a year from now, you know, for the budget. So we're kind of deciding, okay, we're going to have this rate increase. How much will that help us? And you're all forgetting some of that percent has to go to CIP. We have to start saving. And the inflation has caused us to eat away at what we should have been saving for the capital improvement plan. So we're not even talking about that yet, because that's another equation to the rate changes. I mean, that's why we were raising the rates to begin with, to know that when our infrastructure does fall apart, we're ready to get grants and look good financially to receive these grants. Now that's being eaten away. So we're dealing with today's prices compared to what do we think it's going to be in the budget starting January, and then talking about this time next year.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
All right,
and just
thank
let me just touch on that briefly, that the study that was done, which was really fantastic, but the number they used for inflation was 2.9. And we clearly know we're well above that, like 3 times that amount. So that you kind of got to toss that out the window at this point in time. It was good at the time. If that would have tracked at 2.9 or 3%, we'd probably been fine, but we're way out of whack there. Let me show you, and the road numbers, just to let you know, we take in on road charges 191,000. Our operating expenses are 446, so it's like $250,000 that we spend on the roads, but we only take in 191. So there's that's the structural deficit I'm talking about. That's from last year's budget numbers.
Okay.
Well, I think this year has been, and Trevor might attest to this. I mean, O&M is always fixed in roads. I get that. With the rain, I feel like that's just caused more having to go back and do stretches of road that were just done previously, maybe a couple of weeks or a month ago. And so there's a lot of duplication and just, you know, do-overs going on as far as the roads go, expense-wise, probably, I'm guessing.
Has our budget in the past been able, was it correct where our road maintenance was covered with our past budgets?
No, last year's 2021 budget act. Oh, wait, let me get the actual numbers. I've got them right here. Actual numbers for last year: 135,800 in revenue, 360,405 in expenditures. So it's been an ongoing. It's, you know, you've been supporting it, so to speak.
It does sound like it's a budgeting issue.
Yep.
First part, it sounds like it's a budgeting issue, not just inflation and everything else, but sounds like there's a problem right there that we should address.
Oh, for sure, no question.
Just for new eyes help. We got Bruce in now. He's taken his first look at the budget, and we've got Chris and Corey looking at it. That's
Thank goodness, yeah.
good.
Thank you, guys.
Are we holding questions to the public comments? David got his hand raised.
Oh, I thought he was just saying hi. Sorry.
I
I had a few questions back there, but I just wanted to say, you know, I'm new here, and I was on HOA before and back in Texas, and you know, you guys got to do what you got to do to raise the rates. I remember last year seeing some of these comments on the Facebook page and people whining about the rates, but I thought the rates are pretty good, and I don't see how you can run structural deficits. So I only have one question: where's the difference coming from? Do we have a savings account somewhere we're draining in the process? Because that's not cool. Anyway, I love the comments I'm hearing. Just as a part-time resident here and supporter, let you guys know, don't be afraid to make us pay for what we need around here. I want this stuff to look good. Take care of it. Anyway, that's it. Thanks for listening to me.
appreciate your vote of confidence.
Thanks, David.
You're welcome.
Appreciate
Okay,
that, David.
anything else from the budget committee at this point then?
Nope.
Okay. Recreation Committee, Derek or Robin, do you all have any updates?
We haven't really met, but there's been a couple comments that came in, and someone was under the impression that we have riverfront property and wanted to fish on that. We do not have riverfront property. Just let everybody know.
Good to
Okay.
know. Yeah, I kind of feel like in lieu of the current situation, I mean, just budgetary inflation, it's hard to talk about some of these recreational ideas. I mean, we've had lots of ideas for a long time, but I think when your budget's looking the way it is, we're talking raising fees, it's hard to justify.
No way.
Yeah, some of these things because now it looks like a luxury, and it's hard to pay for luxuries when you're just trying to pay the bills. So
Just one more thing on the budget. I think it was about a month ago, Bruce had emailed us saying that this is what was happening nationwide. And I told him, being on fixed income, I watch it very carefully. But then I emailed him back saying, as a board member, I have to look at that differently. And it's going to be a tough decision, as it was last year, to raise the rates, to raise them again. But as David and Derek said, we have to stay solvent. We have to keep our services. Trevor can tell you, I'm sure they're doing everything they can in water and sewer. We've got really good water here. I mean, Durango West, it smells, their water smells. We've got excellent water here. It always comes out of my faucet clean and I feel safe with it. You know, the sewer works, our roads are good, minus a pothole here and there because of the darn rain, which we need. But as board members, we have to protect the community by staying comfortably solvent. And we are going to raise rates, and we can't sugarcoat that. And we're residents too. We don't want any higher bills, but we're going to have to. So when we feel comfortable letting the community know what we need to do, we'll get that out.
I appreciate that, Carissa. Just to come behind it a little bit, I think even before we raised rates last time, you know, Forest Lakes was a pretty good deal. You talk about utilities and we pay for utilities, and I think even with those increases, it's still not a bad deal, you know, as far as the rates go. So I agree with everything you just said there.
All right,
Is-
thank you.
Is there a fee whenever someone builds a new house? Is there a contribution to the CIP fund for that? Because there's 3 on my street. I know it's going to have an impact on, you know, the future infrastructure needs as well as the current road conditions while they're building. Just curious.
Yeah, there's an impact fee that they pay, especially hook up the water and sewer too.
Any idea how much it is?
It's by square footage.
Yeah, there's a formula.
Yeah,
Okay, I don't put you on the spot. Just curious.
Okay. If there's nothing else on recreation, personnel committee, I don't think we have anything at this point. Robin, am I forgetting something?
No, I think Bruce has it under control with his employees. I think it's good.
Yep. Okay, nothing this month on the personnel committee. So now is the place on our agenda we have available if anybody wants to make any comments. So I don't know if there's anybody else that wants to speak up.
If you don't have audio, you can click on the chat and we'll read your questions or comments from the chat.
I would just like to say that I think Forest Lakes does a very good job. The board members, this is the first meeting I've attended and I'm really impressed the way you guys are handling it.
Hey, I don't mean to be rude, but can you, for record, state your name and address?
Sure, Julie Saul, S-U-L, Chateau Lane.
Thank you.
Thanks, Julie. Okay, I am not seeing anybody else indicating they have current comments. So let's move on to our reports. Bruce.
Come on, Facebook Warriors.
Pardon, Corey?
I'm sorry, I said, come on, Facebook Warriors.
Okay, So Bruce, if you would like to go through your manager's report.
All right, I'll do that. As this started, I think everybody who lives there or is listening knows we had a fire back on July 22nd, which was a significant event for all of us. It was very close. It wasn't in the district, but it was just outside. And ultimately, it ended up being about 1.5 acres. We had a tremendous response from fire folks. So before I move on, tell you a little more about it, I'm going to thank these people. Upper Pine, Forest Service, hot shots that came in from Arizona, the Mesa Verde helicopter crew that was running that, taking water out of the lake and putting that out. They did a great job. There was a lot of people there, and it was impressive. And thank goodness, real happy the way that worked out. We also learned a lot out of that. Communications with the Forest Service, some of the things going on. So luckily it wasn't a big deal, but we certainly have learned in speaking with them as well as with Upper Pine, and we'll straighten some things out, get our communications lined up. I mean, just like one of the things that happened is Forest Service didn't have a lock on our emergency access. They didn't know, so they have one now. And it's got their name on it and everything, so we know whose it is and stuff like that. Upper Pine has had theirs, but I mean, that's just an example of something that until you need it, you didn't really realize it, but it's important. Let's see.
And also, Bruce, Sean and Jamie stepped right up. They fielded phone calls.
They did
calm during the whole thing, made some important decisions. They deserve recognition too.
You're 100% correct, and I apologize. And yes, they do. There was a lot going on. I was out trying to track down what's going on the fire, and and the Forest Service calling in the office, and they're trying to get a hold of me, and I couldn't be reached because it was out of service over there. So they did make some calls, specifically the one about letting the helicopter take water out of the lake, which I completely concurred with once I finally got in touch with Forest Service. But that was good. Thank you for reminding me. Forest Service. Yes.
I'm sorry. I just have a quick question. So I've heard some, hearsay runs rampant anywhere, that.
Yep.
But I've heard people say, you know what, if you get to the evacuation road, bring some bolt cutters, because chances are those locks will still be locked. So I guess my question is pretty simple: is who has keys to those? I've heard it's the sheriff's office, La Plata County Sheriff. I've heard Upper Pine. I've heard, in all reality, everyone should have the key.
There are 3 different locks on there, and we all interlock them like this so that we unlock it. They're still locked, and we lock back onto it, depending on who's going through it. There are 3: Upper Pine, U.S. Forest Service, and us, and that's it. So any of those people can and will open up those gates.
I think he's asking about our staff.
Oh, but they're combinations on our staff, and they all have it. Yes.
Okay.
As
well
as
that's good.
Yeah, and I do too.
And this is not an indictment on the sheriff's office at all, because I know they are very short. I read an article recently, Sean Smith was saying he has 5 patrolmen out any given time. I just thought, my gosh, if they have 5 deputies out any given time, it could be a long time before the Plata County Sheriff's gets here. So I just want to make sure I can kind of cut through the hearsay and cut through the chatter a little bit. So that's good information.
Yeah, no, good question. Just the facts.
Yep. Thanks, Bruce.
It always helps. Yeah. Where was that? The helicopter pulled out about 4,500 gallons of water. That basket they were using handled about 125 gallons each dip. But they have different size for different size helicopters. So that's the one we had, but it could be bigger, could be smaller next time. I don't know if it'll be smaller. That's pretty small.
How many fish?
Pardon me?
How many fish? Just kidding. But
we'll have to go look at the burn thing and see how many bodies are there. I don't know.
Well, we haven't stocked it for a couple of years, so probably not as many as you think.
Yeah, not many. It's probably
The bluegill were biting pretty good the other day. Just saying.
Okay.
Grab all those you want.
Okay. And then luckily a couple days later, we got some good rain, but the Forest Service came back every day for like 4 days and we're checking that fire. And then luckily we got some rain, which leads into my next one. Yes, we had rain. It was great. And it's really wreaking havoc with our roads. But we got, in July, we got 2.64 inches, compliments of our weather person up in the mountain there. And so that's helped with the fire danger tremendously. But like I said, it's taken a toll on the roads. And when it's raining and it's really wet, we can't even work on them really because it's just too wet. So we've missed days because of that, and it's just getting worse. But staff is working on it as quickly as they can with the manpower and the equipment we have. So we're staying on it. We're aware of virtually every pothole that's out there. And then that Friday, that fire, the 22nd, I got a phone call that something happened at the rec center. So I went up there, and sure enough, it had been broken into and graffitied on the inside, on the outside, broken some windows, blasted a fire extinguisher inside, and just overall it was just not good. And we're still working on that. We had the police come out, take a report. That's not finalized yet. Contacted insurance, but they're waiting for the police report too. So we're still on it, but things are moving slowly in terms of getting that taken care of. You were speaking of rates before. Just another reminder, September 1st, the rate for water and sewer are going to be going up. This is the third month I've trying to remind people about that. It will go up 10% and it'll be reflected on your October bill, even though it goes into effect in September. Also kind of relating to the roads, I was looking at our stockpiles of gravel for the road, and it's obvious that we're getting down there. So I had the company come out that does our excavation of our pit and does the crush, and they flew their drone over it and measured everything out, what we had left and what have you. And it was about 6 years ago that we did it last, and we're going to have to do it again next year because we're getting down pretty low. And got a rough idea of approximately $150,000. So that's another thing that's not accounted for in the budget in any way, shape, or form as it relates to roads.
Hey, Bruce?
Yes, sir.
Have you only reached out to the one company? You haven't checked with other companies?
Just the one. I just needed an idea, but it may be more or less. It also is a function of how much we actually excavate too. But I used the same amount as we did last time. I thought that was a reasonable comparison. It doesn't mean we have to do that, but it's going to be a lot because they charge you for the excavation and then they charge you for the crushing. So there's two separate components to that, which is going to be, it's going to be a 6-figure number.
So that 150,000 would be approximately 6 years worth of stock. Is that what I'm hearing?
Well, that's what's happened this last time. So that's kind of the basis. So if you amortize that by 6, then that's how much per year that we're putting out there. But I will tell you, if we were purchasing that, it would be substantially more. I mean, to the tune of probably 3 times that amount. So it's a big number, and I get that, but it's substantially less than we would pay otherwise.
And we think we have plenty of gravel left in our pit.
Yes, we can get another full crush equivalent to the amount of the last time, for sure. Yeah, they said that's not going to be a problem.
Awesome. Okay.
Jamie had mentioned the website statistics, and I thought it was really interesting too. I always was interested in who looks at what and whatever. And that way we can make sure we keep those pages particularly updated and relevant to what they're looking at. And so if you look at it, we had about 869 views. Most of them come to the homepage. People just probably, typing in Forest Lakes Metro, and that lands on that homepage. And so that makes sense. But there was others that went, like trash got 157, the Covenants 146, calendar 83, road maintenance 74. And maps, roads and maps 53. The average was about 1 minute and 28 seconds on the website, so not too long, but not too bad. And then where we had people looking at from where they were located, we had United States, the overwhelming majority, 796, but 10 from China, 7 from Canada, 4 from the United Kingdom, 3 from India, 2 from Ireland, and 1 from Costa Rica. So people from around the world are taking a peek. And so that was kind of interesting. And then the last item here is the Special District Association is having their annual meeting next month. And I applied for and got a scholarship, $900 scholarship to go. So that's going to cover almost the entire amount. There's going to be a little bit left over, but for the most part, so that was pretty exciting. I was happy to get that. So, and that concludes my report.
Bruce, I do have questions for you.
Yes.
Are we making any progress on hiring people for the shop?
Yeah, I'll let Trevor talk about that.
Okay, so we'll let Trevor do it during his report then.
Yeah,
Before you go too far, can I go back and have a question?
sure.
Back on that question for the pit, for that, the inventory you have on the road base, I guess what it is. When you're talking about being down $250,000 per year when you're doing your road construction, are you accounting for using that inventory each year? Is that accounted for somehow in your
No,
cost? I have
it is
accounting
not.
I have an accounting background, as long as I'm wondering. It should be for future.
100%.
And I don't want to tell you what to do because I'm really impressed you guys are doing, but I just thought I'd throw that out there. Thanks a lot for your answer my question. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I'm sure Corey and Chris are making note of that right now.
What?
Build it into the bill. We're using, for the last 6 years, we've been using material and didn't pay for it in essence. If you want to think about it that way, people paid for that 6 years ago. We used it for free.
You're correct.
Okay, so that's it, Bruce. We've already
Yep.
gone through Jamie's report. Trevor, you're up for maintenance.
Hopefully he's there. Come on, buddy.
Can you guys hear me?
Trevor.
Oh, can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. All right, so as far as our activities went for last month, we finished up our mainline extension on Snowbird, which includes our water and our sewer. Only thing we have left to do there is to add some road base. We got to put some 3-inch down and cap it with some 3/4. So again, we're going to be using quite a bit of gravel to finish that road up as well. We did remove all the cut down trees there where our solar panels are going to be going. And this that last month we had 3 repairs that we had to do. We repaired a water mainline leak on San Moritz. We repaired a water service line leak in a meter pit in River Ranch. And we also repaired a water service line leak on East Forest Lakes Drive. We're continuing with our road maintenance, obviously. And we're starting to install some new signposts with our signs. We've been putting up some no ATV signs, and we have several more no outlet or dead end signs that we need to put up on the dead end roads. So that's a work in progress there. We've been continuing to clean out our culverts, especially after these big rainstorms. Continuing to burn on our slash pile. And just keeping up on our equipment maintenance and our on-call ops for our water and our wastewater. And been continuing to do some meter replacements and meter reads and rereads and utility locates. There's been a bunch of those again. For our vehicle fleet, everything's still up and operational. Our lig truck is going to be going. We got some maintenance work to do on it, and that's going to be happening tomorrow and Thursday. So hopefully by Friday we'll have our lig truck back. We got an exhaust manifold leak that we got to take care of on that. Other than that, our vehicle fleet's up and operational. And zero incidents to report for last month.
Great.
Okay, so did you want to address the hiring activities?
Yeah, so I'm trying to keep up with all the emails. I haven't been getting as much lately. We're getting emails through Indeed. And honestly, most of those that we're getting from there, it's not what we need. I mean, one guy didn't even have a driver's license. But I am keeping an eye out on that as best as I can. I did have a guy last week. I was supposed to interview him. He bailed out. He bailed out on me the day before. I did have an interview today with another guy, and I feel like that went pretty well. So I'll be getting in touch with Bruce and giving him some more information on that guy.
Okay, thank you. So at least there's still some activity then.
I have a
sir.
question, Trevor. Whatever happened with the dog waste bags on, I think it was Valley View? And then what day do we clean up the garbage around the lake, the garbage cans? It used to be
Yeah.
Tuesdays.
Yeah, so I can't remember when it was that me and Bruce went and looked up at that East Forest Lakes one. I think it was East Forest Lakes. Yeah, it was a couple
That's the
weeks
one where
ago.
the basket, the actual receptacle had broken off.
Yeah,
East Valley View.
East
Yeah,
Valley
it-
View. Yep.
Yeah, it was plastic. So it's like, I'm not sure why we had a plastic anything up there. So needing to order a metal one, and we'll mount it back on that pole and it'll be fine. I can't fathom why anybody would buy a plastic anything. But that's what happened. So we did go up and look at that. And so we'll just get another one, a metal one, and everything I think should be fine after that.
Yeah. And I think in the meantime, I mean, the bolt broke off the back of the plastic can. And I think if we get a big enough washer, we can at least get that one up temporarily until we get a metal one in. So, and yeah, as far as the trash around the ponds, I've asked the guys if we've taken care of that lately, and we've been so busy, it's kind of skipped over, but tomorrow I will make sure that our guys will get to those dog pots and replace those bags as well.
And the bags. Great. Thank you.
You bet.
Okay, thank you. I guess it's time for the financial report.
Yeah, I kind of feel like we've already been there, but we'll do it again. We'll start with that chart. The expenses and revenues for our three funds. On the general fund, even though I've got it reversed here, we'll go with expenses first. General fund, we're at to date, that was the end of July, was $605.69, or 65% of what we expect to spend. Water was $414,900, or 46% expenses for the year. Sewers $301,655, or 45%. So overall, our expenses to date are $1,321,624, or 53% of our budget. On the revenue side of things, general fund revenue to date as of July 31st, $620,331, or 67%. Out of that, and you'll see a little later on, our property tax, we've almost collected it all. So that's why we're a little ahead there. For whatever reason, they've advanced it a little, probably a little further, faster than they normally do, or something, because that one's a little on the high side, but that's okay. We'll take it. Water.
I'm sorry.
I mean,
I'm sorry. I thought you were done. The numbers are different on the agenda than what you're talking.
I hate it when that happens.
Okay,
because I know I messed up. This is the chart we're gonna trust.
okay. Okay, just for the record.
I realized on the water pumping, I put June in there instead of July, so it's just using last month, and I probably didn't straighten that out. So this is one for sure, because I did this one for this agenda. So I apologize for not catching that. Back to water revenue, 459,728, or 51% of what expected of budget, excuse me, and sewer 372,788, or 56% of our revenue, for a total of average of 58% of our revenue for the budget, and $1.452 million currently for the revenue side. And
Okay.
the cash in the bank, we have 1,456,371.
So Bruce, just to let you know why I was so confused earlier when I was asking about the budget. When you read what's written on the report, not what's on your chart here, I don't know if it's just a grammatical issue, but it says revenues at 459,731 of budget. But it doesn't tell me what the budget is. It says expenses at 909,570 of budgeted. And so I'm not, maybe it's my mind, maybe I'm slow.
No, I
That's not
screwed
what-
it up.
Okay,
I own that. I screwed up. Like I said, this one, I spent a lot of time redoing this one because I wanted to redo that chart that you guys wanted, a line chart instead of the bars. So I was working on this, redoing that. So I have much more confidence in that because I double check virtually every month on the revenue and expenditure side to double check that. So that one, I don't know what I did here, and I
Okay.
just apologize.
that's all right. I wasn't trying to call you out on it. I was just,
No, I get why you'd be confused.
all right. Okay, so this other sheet is good.
I'm sorry, what was the total cash in the bank?
What was the total what?
Cash in the bank?
456,371.
That you have correct in the agenda. Okay.
Yep.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thanks, Bruce. So under unfinished business, well, first of all, does anybody else have any questions about the budget before we move on? Okay, unfinished business, the Verizon cell tower. I guess we have an update.
Yeah, actually, after we were going to bail on this whole thing after the last meeting, they never called me back. They called me back. So I had a nice conversation with someone who I think is going to help us, and forwarded my information over to someone in Denver who does all of this stuff. We've missed phone calls with that lady, so I haven't actually connected, but it's something. There's been some communication, and I'm thrilled about that. But we're not any further, other than I've had a telephone conversation, and we've missed a few phone calls. So I'm still staying after it, but it's
Okay, but it's an active thing.
yeah.
There's still hope that we could get a cell tower that will help the area. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Good news. Good news.
Yep. I'm hoping.
Okay. I guess if nobody else has anything under unfinished business, then I guess it's on the new business.
All right. As we know, as I was telling you from the Forest Service, there were some things that occurred that we were unaware of. The Forest Service likes to have it for every single fire, if they utilize anyone's resources, and in this case for us, water or land. And they're willing to pay a little bit. And so all that whole weekend, I was back and forth with their staff because they work 24/7 over there, 365. So we're trying to work out some kind of equitable thing that they can't take as much water as they want for a fire, even though we wanted to put the fire out. So there's a lot of back and forth in terms of how to do this, how to structure it. And so what I have before you was something that seems reasonable, but it's clearly going to be up to you. If you decide you think this is reasonable, this is what I will forward on to them for anything that could occur in the future. And I'd like it utilize the same formula for this last fire. It's still open at this point in time. So what's proposed is if they take lake water to charge us charge them, $50 a day up to 20,000 gallons. And then if they take more than 20,000 gallons, it'll be at a half a cent a gallon. Because it's unprocessed water. Now, if they take fire hydrant water, same thing. They can go $50 a day, $50 a day up to 20,000 gallons. Once they cross over that, then they kick into our fees that everybody pays for water that starts at 20,000 gallons for,
3,000 gallons.
Pardon me?
3,000 gallons for everybody else, right? A month?
Well, that's their low end, but there's, if you look on our chart, that says if you go over 20,000, it's X per, and that's where they would be on the exact same one. So that way, especially that water that's been processed and cleaned and chlorinated and pumped up the mountain and everything else, the value of that asset, in this case, water, is significantly more than the water in the lake. They're both valuable assets, but because it's been processed and chlorinated and pumped up the mountain, it's more expensive. So that works out to about a penny a gallon ballpark for the over 20,000 gallons. So if they came in like for this last fire, they took 4,500 gallons out of the lake. They took about 6,000 out of the fire hydrant. They took about an acre of land. That's the other piece of this. If they $50 a day per acre per day. So this last fire, they were there for one day on there, and they took 4,500 out of the lake and 6,000. So they're under the, so it's $50 for water, $50 for land. So it'd basically be $100. Hello.
I agree with the water, but I don't agree with charging them for taking up some real estate to fight a fire that's threatening our place of residence.
Well,
Well,
wasn't in Forest Lakes.
If you read those reports, people even charge to make sure they repair them back to where they were to begin with. So they used our roads, the evacuation road, which is great. They could use that. They got to it quicker. But they tore it up a little bit. That's going to cost us time and materials to do that. They go across a field, our green space. You're going to have tire tracks. It may get muddy. They may not leave it as clean as when it came. How do they leave the fire hydrants? They're really professional people, but there could be incidents where they've left garbage. They've left waste of some kind. People charge up to $100 if you read those reports.
I did read the report.
Yeah, what I was trying to do is try and strike a balance between being somewhat reasonable with them, but reasonable with the district, especially with the water. And so that's not, I just didn't think that was an overwhelming amount of money, but yet there's going to be a little something coming back, because the reality is, the bottom line is we want to put the fire out. So yeah. If you say, oh gosh, you're too expensive, we're going to have to go somewhere else to get their water because it's too expensive, you probably don't want that either, especially if ours is closer. So it's a fine line. And like I said, I was back and forth with their staff, and they seem to be okay with this. And they said, I forwarded over some of the other agreements. And so there's been all kinds of things that they do. It just depends. So this seemed to be fairly simple and clean. Some of those were really kind of complicated, actually. There was so many things involved in a lot of them, but it's going to be your decision on how you feel like you'd like to go on this.
Hey, Bruce, this might be a silly question, but is it possible to include some kind of clause in the agreement? Because I think the Forest Service, Upper Pine would readily admit it's impossible to predict, expenses based on a small fire, medium fire, big fire, whatever it is kind of thing. I just feel like, I mean, if we can itemize certain things, and if Trevor can say, hey, we had to do this, this, and this, we itemize those things. Is there a way to come back later and say, well, here's what we had to spend, you know, after the fact? I just feel like it's, you know, I'm with Corey, and I'm with all of you, I think, in terms of, I don't want to quibble over stuff when it comes to people putting out a fire, which could just decimate our entire development. I don't want to quibble over a couple $100, but I feel like it's, you know, if there is a catastrophic kind of situation where, you know, it's a large event, I feel like it's just impossible to say how much it's going to cost or what kind of after the fact expenses there are going to be. So I'm not sure if a clause in there is not in good faith, or if that's kind of a cheap shot. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
What kind of verbiage did you have in mind? Because I'm not sure I'm tracking completely with what you're saying.
Well, I guess it's, again, it's nearly impossible to say, well, every fire is the same. And because every fire is the same, you can expect about this much, you know, to happen, whether it's tire tracks or garbage, that kind of thing. I'm just saying it's probably, we'd all agree, it's virtually impossible to put a dollar amount on all the secondary, tertiary stuff that happens because you have to fight a fire. So, I mean, again, I don't want to quibble over money when it comes to trying to save our homes, but I guess I'm just kind of discussing what the options could be.
Are you suggesting something like if there is any significant damage that needs to be repaired and it costs over a certain amount, then that will be addressed separately? Is that something like what you're thinking?
Well, yeah, I'm just thinking, and I'll just make up a completely just outlandish hypothetical. Say they have to do something that they damage a fire hydrant and break a water line. I mean that probably wouldn't happen. I'm just saying this, but something like that does happen in the process of carrying out, trying to put out a fire. You know, you're not going to worry about it at the time. When it's all said and done, that's a big expense to the district. So, I mean, what kind of recourse do we have to come back and say, well, gosh, you know, thanks for putting out the fire, but we have $200,000 worth of repairs we have to do to this or that, you know?
Did you see anything like that in any of the other agreements, Bruce?
I don't recall, and I didn't bring them with me, so I can't reference them right now, but
The only thing that I remember something like that would be you have to restore the property to the way you found it. And I don't know if that's something as simply as they rammed our gates. Hey, we got the people out, but now we've got gates that are broken. And I don't know, Trevor, how much would that cost? I know they had to cut the chains because they didn't have locks. So that's $100, $200, you know, I don't know. I know down at Bear Creek Lane, whatever the road that we exit into, there's a gate there that we're still trying to find the owner to get the lock to make sure that's open. Yes, our big trucks that we have can ram that sucker and people can get out. But that's damage. And so, and that would also damage the ranchers' property that have cattle there. So I think that's kind of where Derek is going, that it went from $100 to all of a sudden, you know, with his example, 200,000. And the only thing I saw in their forms were restoring it to the way you found it. That there was that checkbox there.
So how about something like this, repair damage to the way you found it? I'm just trying to come up with some verbiage.
Hold on.
Yeah, it's a pretty
Hey,
blanket
man.
statement, but I think the blanket statement covers that, just to say, you know, I mean, do what you got to do to put the fire out, but don't leave us with a bill that's going to be, you know, putting us in budget jeopardy kind of thing. Again, I'm going way extreme with an example, but I worry that, you know, because after watching fires everywhere else in California, I feel like it's, you know, you can't just tiptoe around this thing to put a fire out. So.
Well, Bruce, maybe you could attempt some language and forward it to us to take a look at. Maybe something to the effect if there's unintended damage, and maybe even set a threshold on it. I mean, if it's a couple $100, do we want to quibble over that? But certainly if it's several $1,000s, we would want some compensation. So I don't know where you would set the threshold, but play with some wording, see if you can come up with something.
Okay.
That's a
Okay,
bad
so
idea.
on the second page, they talk about restoration, and you can check 2 boxes. The first one is the above sum includes government restoration of land/facilities. Restoration shall be performed to the extent reasonably practical. Restoration work includes : and then with a blank line. Or you check the above sum excludes restoration of land facility. Reasonable cost incurs by the owner beyond ordinary wear and tear in restoring land/facilities to their prior condition shall be submitted in writing to the contracting officer.
As long as facilities also means utilities and roads and things like that, I think that's understood.
Yeah, I think so. And what I also discovered out of this is each fire, I mean, while we're trying to lay out a potential cost for something that may occur, each and every fire is unique unto itself. So I have one of those things I'm waiting to finish up based on kind of what we discuss here. And, I can check those boxes, and so that we know that going forward that we can check one of those boxes. I didn't remember that language, Carissa. That's very good of you to see that, but I think that kind of deals with what you were talking about, Derek, doesn't it?
Yeah, and it's one of those things where, I mean, Upper Pine, I know they probably have a budget situation. It's probably not unlike ours, but if, the feds, I'm sorry, the Forest Service can pony up $200,000 because they have that in their front pocket probably, but I don't want to be petty about it, but it's just acknowledging the reality that if we have a pretty catastrophic event, they're not going to worry about, oh, we could damage this road if we do this. They're going to damage it. And I hope they do if it means they can put out the fire quicker. But there's got to be some recourse for Forest Lakes to say, gosh, okay, thanks for doing what you did, but now we have $500,000 of repairs we got to do or something. I'm being kind of extreme with my example, but that could very well could happen.
Okay, let me ask you this, everyone. Are you okay with the water, land, the amount, and that kind of stuff? If you're okay with that, then let me draft up a couple of other possible language, maybe stealing from their form and what have you. And then we can leave the rest of that alone, the amount, water per day, land per day, and deal with the potential damage as a kind of a separate issue.
Okay,
That way
yeah, real quick. So on that second page, restoration, they check the box that says you have to restore it, and then work includes restoring to original conditions, removing any trash left behind. So restoring to original condition is very broad.
That's there.
But it covers us a little bit.
Yeah, now that's what you're reading from is one of those things that they will get on whenever the next fire is, like I have now. And when I would submit it, I put in the amount like $50 for the water, $50 for land, and I can check that. I don't think they did anything. I went out there and looked, and there's some grass that's been run over by the trucks. I don't think there's a substantial damage, to be honest. But so I wouldn't probably go there. But again, let's go forward. There's another fire, and this time there is. So I put in the water and the land amount, and then I check that box and I submit it, and then that puts in motion their finance people to come back and go, okay, well, what happened? And then we start working our way through all the damages and what that will cost and what have you.
That sounds reasonable to me. And it sounds like checking that box and being able to put an additional cost in for any consequence of damages. It sounds like that would handle it. Does everybody else favorable with the proposed fees?
My only other question after reading those, they talked about potable water, which is our fire hydrants, land use, we talked about lake water, but they also talked about dip sites for helicopters. We don't have enough for a scoop plane, but the dip sites for the helicopters, do we want to include that in for Lake Simpatico? Call it the dip site.
You talking about dip site for like the planes coming in and scooping?
Right, they called it dip sites for helicopters, but they also called it scoop planes for others. One of those examples had a long and narrow one had river and then the other one had a long and narrow lake. So the scoop plane could come in, scoop up the water and leave. We don't have that, but I don't know if, Bruce,
It
I'm
could
just
be
saying
either.
generally, do they want to include besides lake water, including a dip site for a helicopter? I'm just talking.
Well, I think it is a dip. Oh, for other fires, not, well, okay.
I would urge everyone to be careful about like allowing planes and stuff to scoop water out. Just do, some of those planes get fire retardant put in them. We don't necessarily want that chemical in our lake. A helicopter with just a water bucket's fine, but
That lake is not big enough for anything.
It's not big enough. Yeah,
well,
correct.
yeah,
Plane can go in there.
but
And they couldn't climb out even if they could get in there. It's too steep a terrain.
I'm
Yeah.
talking about the verbiage that they used. and they
Yes, I
called it
understand.
A dip site for a helicopter.
Well, that's exactly what they used it for.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay.
Hi there, somebody.
So, Corey, are you okay with rates that are proposed?
yes,
Okay, how about you, Carissa?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry, I'm just.
Robin and Derek.
Robin and
thank you,
Derek.
Robin.
Robin says yes.
Yes, okay, and, okay. So it sounds like, Bruce, for proceeding, it sounds like we can live with the rates that you propose. So with what we've discussed, however you want to address that, then I think we'll be okay.
Yeah,
yeah,
I'll-
real quick. If you'll allow it, Mark, Vic raised his hand earlier. I don't know if he had a comment or a question.
Okay.
Oh,
Vic, you on?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
This is Vic from up at Blue Ridge. That's it's just kind of a statement I have to make. You want to charge the fire company for driving through here, but you don't want to charge Unit 3 residents for driving through. That doesn't make a lot of sense. Yeah, they're not. How do you know they're not using water? They might be tapping into somewhere behind somebody's house. They're definitely using our roads. They're not coming in from the back. They're coming straight up our roads. I think they should pay the same as everybody else.
Well,
for the roads.
first of all, they do pay taxes and they get very few benefits from us. So we use that
Well,
to address some of the road maintenance. And we are discussing possibly changing that policy. That's what Chris and Corey had mentioned earlier.
Right. Well, I just wanted to reiterate that they're using our roads. I think they should pay to help fix our roads too.
And Vic, we are looking into charging Unit 3 a road fee.
Cool.
thanks for your
Thank you.
support.
Okay, thanks, Vic.
Yep. Thank you.
Okay. Was there any other discussion on this policy then before we move on?
Do we need a?
Let me, it sounds like everyone's in agreement, but if you want to, I'll put another little box down there. I'll send it back out to you. I think I know where you're going with this and see if you're okay with it. And if you are, then we'll continue on. We'll use it. If there's still some significant disagreement or stuff, then we'll bring it back to the next meeting.
Okay.
Thanks, Bruce.
Okay.
Okay, I guess we're on to the Board of Directors Policy Manual.
Yeah, what I did is I took it and with some of the suggestions that were given to me by the board, and I gave you a red line version, so it should stand out in terms of what the changes are that you wanted. The first one's coming on page 5, which is the email thing, which says all communications to and from the Board of Directors using email shall be sent via blind copy, in parentheses, BCC method. So that was one. I don't know if that still sounds okay with the board.
Yes, that sounds okay, but we couldn't find it in our copy. Robin and I were talking earlier.
Hey,
Yeah,
Bruce,
you
that
didn't have it
last
in the-
copy, the
Yeah.
last copy you sent out, that was missing. It looked like everything else was in there, but that one section was missing of that last copy you sent out. It's in our board packet, the way it's supposed to be, but that last one that you sent out yesterday, that section looks like it's missing.
Well, I don't know what happened because I just pulled it up this morning when you mentioned that and I pulled it up and sent it to you. That's the one I have. So I'm a little confused of
Okay,
what's floating around out there. So, okay. But let's take that on page 5. Is that the verbiage sound okay?
yeah,
Okay. Then the next one would be on page 7 under part 5 board meeting procedures.
both of those are good.
Okay, the time as well as the place.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
I don't know if there's another. Oh, yeah, then down
Yeah,
page
yeah,
10,
page 10.
$50, $100
Yes.
toward credit
Yeah.
for the utility billing.
Yes,
And that was all that was to be changed.
Okay,
If there's-
one other
we
thing,
can-
one other thing, Bruce, was on
Yep.
page 3.
odd
under
years.
The officers, it talks about in each even numbered year at the regular board meeting, that should be odd numbers. That was even numbers back when the elections used to happen in the even years. Since the elections now happen in the odd years, they should be changed to align with that.
So
Correct.
you want, okay, so under rule 3, number 1, officers go to odd
Yes,
instead of even. Okay.
because once we change officers, once we have elections, bring new people in, we need to redo the elections.
Yeah,
Okay, so that's another change. So
Yeah.
the changes I had, and then that one,
that's it.
if that's what you want, are happy with, then I guess you should perhaps take a little vote on that.
Looks good.
Yep, with, so with the changes that have been proposed, is everybody good with that? I'll make a
Motion.
motion, thank you. I told you I'm having troubles with my brain tonight, sorry. I make a motion that we accept the amended Board of Directors policy manual as proposed.
Second,
Okay, Corey, you good with it?
Yep.
Eric,
Yep.
Robin?
Yes, and it would probably reflect the day revision being accepted.
Yeah, I
Right.
just put that on the bottom, on the footer. I just wrote that in myself because I noticed it wasn't there.
Yes,
Yeah, the last revision was in 2019, or excuse me, yeah, 2019, yeah.
yes. So it would show 2/22 or 2022,
I
August.
wrote-
Good,
I wrote it in.
perfect, perfect.
With the other
Good.
pages odd, so we'll make that, all those corrections and send it out to you as well.
Okay.
Thank you, Bruce.
Yep,
Mhm.
thanks. Okay, under new business, I would like to propose one additional item here. Sorry, I
Okay.
didn't get with everybody earlier and get it in the agenda. Carissa had made a recommendation that in order to get people signed up for the email notifications, since Jamie has now told us that's a possibility, she had proposed maybe doing some kind of a contest and giving the winner of everyone that has signed up for the email notifications, possibly giving them 1 month free fees for their property. Does anybody, I mean, can we have some discussion about that? How's everybody feel about that?
I'm not really for that because I think it's gonna cause some turmoil for people. You give one person a free month, everyone else is gonna want the same thing for signing up for an email. And I mean, for the majority, a lot of people want this, so I think they're gonna join freely regardless if we offer them a free bill.
You think the incentive is there without having to do a contest?
Yes. Just from the people I've spoken to, a lot of them want this regardless whether you give them a discounted bill or not. And with us already kind of struggling to stay afloat on the financial end, I don't think discounting a bill is a good idea.
Derek or Robin?
I was thinking that there's even a limit as to amount that can be awarded, like the $50 thing. I think there's a limit. So I don't know that you could do their whole utility bill, but that being said, you know, if you were to give them a credit of $50 or whatever that's allotted, that was my only thing, but I see where Corey's going with that too.
You know, something else just occurred to me. Since we're a pseudo government activity, we may not have the authority to do something like this. That's probably something we need to check with legal counsel on anyway.
Yeah, I'll do that, but typically from my past experience in another state, that's called gift of public funds, and you're not allowed to do that. But I don't know what it is here in Colorado, so I will definitely check on that.
I guess you can ask. Go ahead.
After I put that in, Jamie had brought up an idea. She says she really thinks people will want to sign up for an email.
Okay, so I'm hearing overwhelming sense then that the
No.
incentive of being able to get those notifications pushed through your email is sufficient, that we don't need to encourage it in another fashion.
And
Sounds cool.
I'm thinking that, you know, like on the bottom of the bill where it said, don't forget rates are going up or something, and they got a couple of phone calls on that, which is great. We could put then that message, hey, remember to sign up, you know, at flmd.org /, you know, whatever we decide. So maybe that's how we can get the message out to the residents that get our bill, the majority of people.
And,
That could be the message on the bottom.
and another thing we could possibly do to like help promote this is a lot of businesses do what's called a customer appreciation day, or they'll throw a barbecue and, you know, do some hamburgers and some hot dogs or whatever. You know, maybe we could do something like that for our residents, and then, you know, have a couple representatives there getting emails or whatever.
Well, we kind of talked about doing an open house once we get everything up and rolling there at the new office, so that kind of like a show and tell and a open house kind of thing.
I was just gonna mention that because I kind of getting the weeds killed off there. We're gonna bring some gravel in and some boulders and some other stuff, because I know you were talking August or September, so I think now we're looking September. If we're gonna,
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
I think once that happens, the word of mouth spreads, I think it'll do the trick.
Sounds like a consensus then that the contest is not a good idea. We're not going to go down that path. But
Agreed.
we do want to find a way to get the word out so people can start getting valid emails in, so we can start using that system.
Yeah, I think when we mail those bills out, especially this last one, we put those really bright green stickers on there. And I mean, that was regarding the rate increase, but it was pretty amazing. We got several calls. I had 2 individuals come in and speak to me directly about it, but I know Shauna fielded a lot of calls on that. So it actually works, you know, especially because I mean, my God, that green was so bright, it almost hurt my eyes. But just saying, it's effective.
All right.
Is David Medlin still here? He goes, are we going to discuss Unit 3? What did he want to discuss about Unit 3?
He said his battery was dying and he may have to leave. I don't think he's on anymore.
Okay.
Okay, I guess that's it for new business, unless anybody else has anything. Okay, there were no resolutions for tonight. We want to move on to disbursements. Corey or Carissa?
Yeah, I actually have a couple questions real fast on that.
Boy, I hope I can answer them. I'll try.
What is this payment to CEBT? I don't recognize that acronym.
Where's it at? Where you at on the list?
Yeah, it's about 10 down. CEBT, it's $8,178.
CEBT. I'm not sure either.
Was that our garbage people?
No, that's a different one.
That'd be GFL or.
Yeah, GFL is who we have. Yeah.
It's a financial term, I feel like.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm just not recognizing what it is.
And nor do I, and I should. And
Transportation? Did we all
It's
appoint?
our insurance.
Insurance.
Insurance? Is that
Who's-
what we're-
is that Shauna trying to talk in there?
Think so.
Uh,
Well,
Bad connection.
I guess I'm gonna have to get an answer for it. I don't know. Trevor, do you happen to know?
I believe that is our insurance.
Which insurance? Like our
Health-
liability insurance, our health insurance, our,
Health insurance.
oh, health insurance, okay.
Okay.
I've seen that in pay stubs before, CEBT.
And then,
Okay, well, I'll certainly clarify that because it's a big chunk there. I'm just not sure.
and then Google Apps for $37.99. What are we buying on Google Apps?
That's for extra space in the cloud space.
Cloud space.
Yeah, it's a few bucks every month.
Okay.
I have a question since we're talking about this. In the past, we used to get a notification from Jamie to say, hey, we got some checks to sign. And whoever was available would get down there and sign them. That always gave me a chance to walk in and look at the checks and ask about things at that point.
Mm.
I have not seen an email like that for some time. How are we getting our checks signed right now?
Well, I'm signing one and Jamie's signing is the other signer on it.
Okay.
So now
So we-
that brings up a question just with Bayfield. Our finance director and the people that deal with the finances, there's a new law or there's a law out there saying that they shouldn't be a check signer, kind of like a check and balances. So the manager and a board member or the manager and my other boss, Jeremy Schultz, is a check signer. Is that something we should look into? Make sure
In the
we're-
past, it was always the board that signed the checks. In the past, before COVID, it was the board members. You'd have two board members sign the checks.
So I know our finance director in Bayfield used to sign the checks, and then we've told by our auditor that that's not that's a no-no. So
Well,
maybe Bruce, we can look into that.
well, I'll look at it and I'm happy to do, doesn't matter to me one way or the other. Just as you talked about checks and balances, which is very true, you need to have that. So whoever is issuing the checks, if you will, in this case, Jamie, she issued. The person on the other side of that is when we reconcile the checking account and those checks come back in, needs to be a different person. And that's where we're having a little bit of trouble because we're very low staffed. And so as far as the signature, I've never worked in an organization where the board signed it at all. They were never on the checking account. It was always the staff, it was the city manager and the finance director. But
Maybe we
again, the
just-
laws are a little different here. And I honestly, it doesn't matter to me if you guys,
Well, that may be fine. It's expedient. So maybe since we're still working with the auditors, maybe we could just pose that question and see what
Yep.
the auditor comes
Yeah,
back
yeah.
with.
Pose it to the auditor and our lawyer and see what the
Right.
lawyer says.
I think
You
the
know, we
auditor-
all have signature cards.
I think the auditor would be the authority on that. I'm not sure the attorney would answer.
Yeah, I think the auditor, because that's who we're gonna have to make happy, otherwise it'll show up on the management report if we're doing something wrong, in their opinion. So, yeah, I will call them.
Okay, great. Okay, so on to the,
Well, wait a minute, we didn't,
right.
Well,
that's-
I'd like to make a motion to approve the disbursements from July 1st through the 28th of 2022.
For how much?
The amount of, hold on, I gotta scroll over. For the amount of $92,759.50.
Second,
Okay, and I'm in favor of that. Derek and Robin,
In favor?
In favor.
okay, that unanimously passes. I have nothing else on the agenda. If nobody else has any last thing, I think.
I do
we
have one
will-
quick thing, if you don't, Mark.
Yep.
Just a quick thing. We're gonna try, because I know there's been a desire to meet in person. And we're getting, Thursday, we're having our internet is going to be upgraded a little bit. And I'm gonna try and see if I can get our IT guy in to get a camera. We'll probably like mount it up on the wall so it can point down the camera. And we have that conference speakerphone that I'm gonna try and get that coordinated to hook up so that if you want to have the meeting in that conference room, we can. So I'm looking forward to trying to do that for that September meeting. If that's amenable to everyone, I think they kind of want to go that direction.
I mentioned, Bruce, I mentioned to Jamie too, there's a device called an owl. I know Bayfield School District uses it for their school board meetings. It's pretty amazing piece of machinery, not that expensive, I'm thinking, but the owl you just put in the middle. And the owl just puts to that person who's speaking. So that's what shows up on the screen. So that could be an interesting and pretty efficient thing to use.
I have some experience with the owl. And the one complaint I have about it is if you get a bunch of sidebar conversations, it jumps back and forth and it makes it really difficult.
We'll just have to stop the cycles then. So
Yeah. Well,
It's about $1,000.
I just wanted to mention that briefly, that we're going to try and do that as long as you all want to do that. And also mention if that meeting is, I will be at that at the conference, so I won't be there, but I'll be there on a Zoom.
Okay,
Okay.
all right, yeah. Go ahead and see if you can find a way to set that up. It would be good. Sounds like most of us would kind of like to be sitting in person.
yeah, I enjoyed that last time.
Okay, great. Anything else?
I'm good.
Okay, I show that it's 8:32 and I make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
Okay, Corey, you good? Robin, Eric?
Good.
Hey,
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you
Nice
very
meeting
much.
Thanks,
you.
everyone.
I'll
Thank
third
you.
it.
Bye.
Night.
Good night.
Good
Good night.
night. Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks.